Studio Music exclusive.
I grew up like a savage.
One, two. You now rocking with the No Vultures podcast. You got me, myself, Lord Rab. You got OG Clee on a vacation. Free OG Clee. Matter of fact, he got a date, man.
He on a date?
He got a date. He didn't have a date. He in the feds. He got a date.
Oh, he got a date.
Yeah, so free OG Clee, man, coming back.
I thought
to
you
the
said
podcast.
he was on a date.
Yeah, I bet he wish he was on a fucking
I
date.
thought you said he was on a date. He gonna come home again.
Actually, he would have been home if he wasn't in jail doing shit like he was on the date. He got caught with a cooler full of beer.
Oh wow!
Watching football.
Hey, well, he about to come home.
Yeah, he about to come home.
And
Free
he can go on a date.
Clee. Today, we got a very, very, very special guest.
Come on.
We got one of those guests that's an anomaly, man. We got one of those dudes that comes every 10 years or so, I say. Like,
10.
you know, and bless the game with real shit. What this game is built on, the essence, you know, one of the pillars of hip hop as far as rhyming, having personality, being personable, being able to be around people, being able to win over a room.
Yeah.
You done seen them everywhere, man, on every platform.
Yeah.
The bars is stupid. Like, the bars on God level. Like,
Results take time.
results take time. We got gangster grills right now. We fresh off the tour right now.
About to start another one.
About to start another one. We got my nigga, the one and only Symba on No Vultures
man.
today again.
Come on.
My brother.
My dog.
What's going on, man?
Man, you know, we had to do this. You know, this like home.
Yeah.
Anytime we've been talking about doing this since summer.
Man.
You know, but it was just a lot of shit going on. So we in the studio. I'm actually in the studio with D-Lo right now. We working on some music, and I told my dog, man, pull up. Let's get this interview knocked out right here in the studio. Let's get to it.
Man, just to keep it real, man, Symba.
And be clear, we're gonna talk about some shit today.
We're gonna talk about
We're
some
gonna talk
shit,
about
man.
a lot of shit today.
But I gotta go right in because that right there alone is something that we all could look at and grow from. Like, speaking of you being in a studio right now with D-Lo, Symba and D-Lo, right?
Yeah.
And at a time like this where we see so many hip hop deaths, so many of our brothers being taken out, right, by this game we love, and what we want to benefit from, what our culture created, and you guys had some rap beef before, and y'all in the studio.
Yeah, I don't even feel like it was real rap beef. I feel like it was just really a misunderstanding. Like, for those of y'all who don't know, I used to run around with young Curt. That was like my little brother for real. And him and D-Lo had issues back in the day because D-Lo was feeling like, you know, Curt was taking certain things from him.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Like, he felt like he was taking his style a little bit rap-wise. And I wouldn't say he was taking his style, but Curt was inspired by it. He was inspired by it. And he loved what D-Lo was doing. I remember we'd be riding to Deer Valley and going to school and shit, and he'd be playing D-Lo and playing Sleepy and playing what they had going on, and that was something that he wanted to represent for himself. And I feel like, you know, us as kids, it was just a big-ass misunderstanding. You know, like, when you young and you looking for that top spot and you popping in your neighborhood, you know what I mean? You ain't really ready to just like have a conversation about how you feel. You ready to put some action to it. You know what I mean? So I feel like it was a big misunderstanding, but you know, that shit was crazy because I felt like it affected what Curt had going on at the time.
Yeah.
Curt was kind of cutting through, you know, us being from the East Bay over in Antioch, Pittsburgh area. He started cutting through over here in Oakland and San Francisco, and it kind of made it hard to move for a little bit. You know, we couldn't do certain shows, we couldn't do certain things, but we always showed up and did what we could. And over time, I remember I was in the movies. I think it was about a year after they issued. I was in the movies with this girl.
Okay.
And I got a call from D-Lo, and he called me. He was like, bro, he was like, I talked to Stretch, man. Stretch told me, like, me and you need to holler because this shit ain't really about nothing. I'm going through real life shit right now. I think he was fighting a case at the time. He was like, I don't need none of this shit on my name. And I was like, bro, this shit ain't about nothing. I'm like, I'm going to call bro when I get up out of here, put y'all on the phone. They talked for a little bit, and, you know, that was the end of it. And I think right before Curt passed, him and D-Lo had a conversation about them doing some music together. But, you know, it was just, you know, a misunderstanding, being young and aggressive.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? But at the
right.
end of the day, it was always love for everybody, because in that era we all was coming up. It was D-Lo, it was Young Bari, it was the beginning of HBK, it was the Diligence, it was the Pack, it was a bunch of us, starting six, Young Murph. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
it was a bunch of us. So, you know, I'm glad to see us all get to this point to where we still out here doing it.
That's real. I rest in peace, young Curt too, man.
Yeah, for sure. Rest in peace to
Young
Curt.
legend, man. Gone too soon.
Way ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time.
Curt was ahead of his time, man. Curt had a lot of good shit that he was doing. Like, a lot of shit that we hear today that people do, Curt was doing that shit back then.
Right.
That was the first person I actually seen, like, make his own beats, write his own raps, mix his own shit, shoot his own videos,
That's hard.
record himself. Like,
That's hard.
I used to be like, this nigga's a one-man army. So shout out to bro for real.
If you it was since D-Lo mentioned in the interview we just had,
Yeah.
is that true? Did you help write the diss song?
It was a collaborative effort.
Okay.
I say
Okay. Okay.
It was a collaborative
You
effort.
know, man, I'm such a rap nerd. I love these hip hop stories.
But Curt had some shit, like, the first half of it, he
Yeah.
had it.
Okay.
And then he called me with it, and I was like, we gotta doctor this motherfucker up. I'm like,
Okay.
but that's it. And
That's
then
it,
we,
yeah.
You know, we collabed on it, but for sure.
That's dope as fuck, man.
For sure.
Before we go any further, man, I want to shout out the sponsors. Shout out to Highline Custom Jewelry, man, premier sponsor in the Bay Area.
Carl, I
man.
need a new watch. What's up?
Man, it's time for a new watch, man. You know, you go in there, all you got to say is no vultures, Sim. You go in there and say no vultures, man. You know, we got it like that right now. It's really like that, man. We gonna beat anything that you can buy, bring any Cuban recipes, take off infinity links on the way,
Yeah.
all that shit, man. So just come through, man. But the main thing we preaching and I got Carl on is we being responsible with our bodies. We being responsible with our jewelry. We not
sure.
dying over that shit. You know
sure.
what I'm saying? And it's okay to take that shit off when you in the house, man. Go to
For
sleep.
sure.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? You ain't gotta wear that
Facts.
shit everywhere.
Facts.
Speaking of that, into that transition, Sim, you know, I didn't talk to you about this, but I was talking with Lil D wife, right? And we was having a conversation. Monique, shout out to Monique, and
Yeah.
she saw your mom in the airport.
Yeah.
And they had a real conversation, and she called me, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I always look at these hip hop moms,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
look at these hip hop moms as like,
They
as
be
crazy
worried.
as it is for you to be a professional and moving in a legal fashion, that they almost still had the same worry as a mom who's
sure.
the mom of a drug
sure.
lord or
For
something of that nature. And so she expressed some concerns to her about, like, you know, this shit is dangerous. She just saw what happened with TakeOff.
Yeah.
And I see how you move. Me and Fab had a conversation about this with the way he move and other people that I really respect, right?
Yeah.
If you could just give the people something, like, because everybody can learn, not young, not old.
Yeah.
But when Symba's in a room, when you walk in, what's on your mind or is in your personality or your everyday behavior that you can just walk in a room and be, you know, cordial with people like that?
I feel like it's based on the room. You know, every room acquires different things. You know, so sometimes I go places, I pull up by myself. You know, I just might go by myself. Sometimes I go places and it's 40 of us. I remember when we went to the release party. You know, it was 40 of us. It was a certain rapper talking about he was gonna pull up to the release party and do all it. So we met him with that energy.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Sometimes you gotta meet people at where they at.
Right.
And I feel like it's based off where you going and knowing your surroundings, being aware of where you at. You know, I'm from the Bay, so it's like I done been out here, living out here for years. I remember going to 330 Rich around the corner
Man.
years ago.
Man.
I remember being in Oakland at halftime, so I know the energy. I know certain things. I know when it's time to go. You know what I mean? I know where we going and how we need to pull up. So I think every location requires a different type of energy. You know, sometimes we go in meetings and it's just me and bro. You know what I mean? We don't need to come in there with that type of energy.
Right.
And sometimes we go places and we gonna pull up with everybody. So it's just really dependent based off where you at and where you going and just being aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. I gotta ask you this because you just mentioned that and being from the Bay, right?
Yeah.
I personally have been watching a lot of Symba slander,
Yeah.
right? and
Shout out to Dage.
shout out to the good brother Dage, right? Well, since you going there with Dage, I wasn't thinking that, but we there. Where did it go wrong with you and Dage? Or what's the issue? Like,
I don't even think it's no issue. I think
because he tell me all the time how much he love you.
I think that's cap.
You think that's cap?
Yeah, I think that's cap. I think when it comes to a certain demographic or a certain range of people in the Bay Area, they have a certain entitlement to certain things, and they feel like when they not a part of certain things or didn't contribute to certain things, that they can't support it, or they have to pick holes at it, or they have to find things to say about it. And I feel like for me, it was a organic process of me just moving with my homies, right? And I think it's very unfair that people try to take away from all the shit that I did put in while I was here, right? So we could go all the way back to a Bay Area freshman 10, right? We could go all the way back to
Willie Joe video when you had that big ass
I'm
t-shirt
from the
on.
Bay, bruh. You know what I mean?
Your t-shirt was like 6 feet by itself.
Yeah, we could go all the way back there. I remember when bro, you know, was what is that? Was it the Turf Fiends or the Animaniacs? One of them he was in. You know, one of my homies, RT, he used to be a dancer and they used to dance together and everything. And I used to go to them battles and I was doing music back then, selling my mixtapes back then at them dance battles. And for me, I just started realizing like the type of music that I make, and you know, naturally when I'm trying to get across, it wouldn't really translate, you know, over in the Bay. It didn't really connect. So I was like, you know what I gotta do? I gotta get up and I gotta move around and I gotta be who I am and always, you know, show my morals and ethics of where I come from as far as being a Bay nigga, but doing it in a broader perspective. And through moving around, I kind of developed, you know, my name in different places. Then, you know, most people typically it goes up at home and then they go and see the world, right? And they take home with them. For me, it's like I had to go see the world
Right.
and put them on to what home is, and now I'm
Right.
trying to pull people into that. And I think I get a lot of backlash for that because it's something that most people can't do. I feel like most people don't have the personality. Most people don't have the talent. Most people don't have the awareness. Most people don't have the understanding. They don't have the care. They don't have the ability to understand what all it takes to be a global superstar. Not just somebody that's regional in the area. I went to Petaluma.
Right.
I've been there with Starting Six.
Right.
I did shows with Curt in Sacramento. We went to war with D-Lo and Sleepy D when these niggas wanted to know where this little nigga Curt went to school with, and we had to go
Right.
pick this nigga up early to make sure nothing was gonna happen to him.
Yeah.
We done did shows at 330 Rich. We done did the Blue Flames. We done did New Caribbean City. We done did all these things, and it would never expand me. It wouldn't help me get to where I needed to be. So I had to go move around and figure out ways to get bigger. And I feel like most people ain't took that risk. You know, they ain't took that risk or they ain't done that for themselves. So when they see somebody that has, it makes them realize the work that they haven't done. And they feel resentment towards that. And that's something they got to deal with.
And you know, a lot of times I think that you know, what you said is true as far as people wanting to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm a grown man, and I could say that Symba is on the rise. I definitely want to be a part of this history,
For sure,
right? So
for
it's
sure.
like I tell niggas all the time. Sometimes I said this to Draymond, like, nigga, you live in the last dance.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. If I was able to tell Michael Jordan, you live in the last dance.
Facts.
Like, nigga.
And
like
that's some shit. That's some shit, bro. It's like that's vision. Everybody ain't got vision.
Right.
That's something I'm starting to learn. Sometimes you don't know how shit look to everybody else.
Right.
So when you tell somebody you living in the last dance, what you ultimately telling somebody is, bro, think about how this shit gonna look in 20 years when you tell the story again. Most of us can't see that far.
Man.
You feel me? So for you to say some shit like that, it show visually
Yeah.
where you in tune
Right.
with, you know what I
Right,
mean? And the
right.
shit that you could connect to, everybody can't see that.
Yeah.
Some niggas could only see past that door.
Right,
And
right.
what's right in front of their face.
Right.
And that's okay. But you can't get mad at certain motherfuckers for wanting to walk past the door and get through the door and do something different.
Yeah.
It's cool. Just because you don't understand it don't mean you can't.
Because I hate the I love it that they was able to rectify it and talk about it.
Yeah.
But I hate the Shaq and Kobe conversation when it's like, we could have.
For sure.
So I would hate to be the nigga to be like, I didn't tell, Symba like this one thing.
Yeah.
And we could have.
Nah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? I don't
For
want to
sure.
be that. And that's how I think everybody else should look at it. So,
And that's real though. That's real.
I've looked around and I pay attention. I love this shit. I mean, I love it. I love where I'm from. I love this shit, but I don't always love how we behave.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is any situation in life, when you include, I look at Bay Area hip hop as impoverished.
Yeah.
I look at
Very.
like we living in poverty.
For sure.
So when people live in poverty, they do crazy shit.
sure.
They do shit out of character.
For sure.
I don't know if the public knows, but DB the General also spoke out.
Yeah.
Right? He had some gripes.
Yeah.
Y'all had an offline conversation.
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went good.
Yeah.
I feel like DB is the type of person that's very amped up. I feel like he jumps the gun sometimes. I feel like he speaks on things sometimes without having an understanding of what the other person is trying to do. And what it all stemmed over is, think about this, right? This would help me understand DB's frustration. This is what made me want to have a conversation with him. I was on the phone with a very important person. Very important person. And this important person called me and told me, he said, I figured out the problem with you Bay Area niggas. I said, what? He said, y'all too geographical. I said, what that mean? He said, I was just sitting down with 4 very important people of Bay Area culture. And I said, the problem with y'all is y'all focus on one style of artist sometimes, and when y'all got shit in front of y'all face that could commercialize the whole city. And he was like, the people said, well, who is that? And he said, LaRussell and Symba. And they said, well, they not from Oakland or San Francisco. And it made me realize this is DB's frustration.
Right.
This is why DB's mad. Because being somebody that represents a place that's so historical, right? It's like you put all your work into being this person that could represent this place. You put everything into that, right? And then somebody comes around and they may, dibbled and dabbled in that area, may be from a different area and got ties to that area, but they may be doing things that you seen yourself doing, right? And instead of looking at it like, hey, bro, let's talk. Let's have a conversation about how we both could get there. What we naturally do is just start dissing niggas and tearing
Right.
niggas down.
Right.
Because we feel like it could only be one person that could own that spot, when in all actuality, it's enough room for all of us. Because what I do ain't the same thing DB do. What DB do ain't the same thing LaRussell do. What LaRussell do ain't the same thing Larry June do. What
Right.
Larry June do ain't the same thing Rex Life Raj do. But together we could have a collective audience that all knows about Bay Area music.
Absolutely.
And if we working together, and if we collabing together, and we writing TV scripts and films and all these different things together, all it does is bring more awareness to where we from, to open up doors for the next generation to where they ain't got to go through this shit. So all I'm trying to do is speak for a generation of people that really go through, like, I feel like the shit I speak on is more relatable than the shit that get highlighted as far as the Bay. The problem is our music over here in the West Coast naturally moves a little faster. My shit moves a little slower.
Yeah.
I don't make music for the club.
Right.
I typically don't make music for the radio, but I make songs that's catchy that sometimes makes radio, right? And I feel like sometimes that may not translate tempo-wise to what we typically used to listening to. And because of that, it translates other places. And people may see it as if it's bigger than what they got going on, but in all actuality, it's just expanding what we all got going on.
Right.
It's just helping us all get bigger. So it's
Right.
making, my shit is making somebody in Austin, Texas say, well, shit, if he sound like that from the Bay, what the fuck this person got going on? Let me go find what's the next thing. And that's what I spoke to DB about, you know? And he had an issue with a certain person that I'm cool with, right? And I feel like that's where the problem really stemmed from.
Yeah.
And I asked them both, nigga, did somebody die?
Right.
Neither one of them said no.
Right.
So what's the issue?
Stay on blue.
I'm just trying to stay racked up like you.
Put an 8 in a 1 and do magic. Tryna stretch hair on like elastic. Eco-friendly drug dealer, I don't waste no plastic. Use all 4 corners of that baggie. All I ever wanted was a bankroll. So I pull up on Champ before the bank close. Say no to stank hoes and stank clothes. No paramedic pimpin', nigga, we don't save hoes. Yeah, rest in peace to Lil' M. My